Volume 1, Chapter 1 of A Charming Fellow by Frances Eleanor Trollope. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. A Charming Fellow by Frances Eleanor Trollope. Volume 1, Chapter 1. To be frank with you, Mr. Diamond, I don't believe Dr. Bodkin understands my son's genius. I beg your pardon, madam. You said your son's genius, sir, the bent of his genius. Algy's is not a mechanical mind. Mrs. Errington slightly tossed her head as she uttered the word mechanical. Mr. Diamond said, "Oh," and then sat silent. The room was very quiet. The autumn day was fading, and the mingling of twilight and firelight, and the stillness of the scene, were conducive to mute meditation. It was a long, low room with an uneven floor, a whitewashed ceiling crossed by heavy beams, and one large bow window. It was furnished with the spindle-legged chairs and tables in use in the last century. A crimson drugget covered the floor, and in front of the hearth lay a rug, made of scraps of black and coloured cloth, neatly sewn together in a pattern. Over the high wooden mantelpiece hung on one side a faded water-colour sketch of a gentleman with powdered hair, and on the other an oval miniature of much later date, which represented a fair, florid young lady, with large, languid blue eyes, and a red mouth, somewhat too full-lipped. Notwithstanding the years which had elapsed since the miniature was painted, it was still sufficiently like Mrs. Errington to be recognised for her portrait. There was an old harpsichord in the room, and a few books on hanging shelves. But the only handsome or costly object to be seen were some delicate blue and white china cups and saucers, which glistened from an oaken corner cupboard, and a large work-box of tortoise shell, inlaid with mother of pearl, lined with amber satin, and fitted with the implements of needlework, in richly chased silver. The box, like the china cupboard, stood wide open to display its contents, and was evidently a subject of pride to its possessor. It was entirely incongruous with the rest of the furniture, which, although decent and serviceable, was very plain and rather scanty. Nevertheless, the room looked snug and homelike. The coal fire burnt with a deep glowing light. A small copper kettle was singing cheerily on the hob. Tea things were laid on a table in front of the fire, and a fitful moaning wind that rattled now and then against the antique casement enhanced the comfort of the scene by its suggestion of forlorn chilliness without. But however the influence of the time and place might incline Mr. Diamond to silence, they had no such effect on Mrs. Errington. After a short pause, during which she seemed to be awaiting some remark from her companion, she observed once more, "No, I do not think the Doctor understands Algy's genius, and that is why I was anxious to ask your advice on this proposition of Mr. Filthorpe's." "But, madam, why should you suppose me likely to understand Algernon better than Dr. Bodkin does?" "Oh, because, in the first place, you're younger, nearer Algy's own age." "Ah, there is a wide gap, though, between his 18 and my 28, a wider gap than the mere 10 years would necessarily make in all cases." Mrs. Errington glanced at the speaker, and thought, in the maternal pride of her heart, that there was indeed a wide difference between her joyous, handsome Algernon and Matthew Diamond, second master at the Whitford Grammar School; and she thought too that the difference was all to her son's advantage. Mr. Diamond was a grave-looking young man with a spare, strong figure, and a face which, in repose, was neither handsome nor ugly. His clean-shaven chin and upper lip were firmly cut, and he had a pair of keen grey eyes. But such as it was a face which most persons who saw it often fell into a habit of watching. It raised an indefinite expectation. You were instinctively aware of something latent beneath its habitual expression of seriousness and reserve. What the something might be, was variously guessed at according to the temperament of the observer. "Then there is another reason why I wish to consult you," pursued Mrs. Errington. "I have a great opinion of your judgment, from what Algy tells me. I assure you Algy thinks an immense deal of your talents, Mr. Diamond. You must not think I flatter you." "No," replied Mr. Diamond very quietly, "I do not think you flatter me." "And therefore I have told you the state of the case quite openly, and I would not have you hesitate to give your advice, from any fear of disagreeing with my opinion." Mr. Diamond leaned his elbow on the table and his face on his hand, which he held so as to hide his mouth, an habitual posture with him, and looked gravely at Mrs. Errington. "I trust," continued the lady, "that I am superior to the weakness of requiring blind acquiescence from people." Mrs. Errington spoke in a mellow, measured voice, and had a soft, smiling cast of countenance. Both these were frequently contradicted in a
Sample complete. Ready to continue?